All right, welcome to Documents and Drafts, the podcast where we take a look at important historical documents that are especially important to the United States and drink some really cool beers along the way. We'll look at the background of each document and each beer. We'll read the document and talk about the document, and we'll talk about the beer. We'll do about one of these a month, which is what we've been doing, and more if requested. The background music is all provided by Soundstripe. I use the blues genre for that. This is also going to be on Spreaker.com, Podcast Addict, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. So check it out. So today let me see if I can get this craziness going. Share screen. So there's our great logo. So if you ever see that, you know what you're looking for. That's Riley's Documents and Drafts. Today is our 50th episode special. So that's pretty cool. And we are going to read one document today, then we're going to do some fun Christmas stuff. So the document today is called Wrong Step Now, and the Republic Will Be Lost Forever by Patrick Henry. It's really the last of the books, that we've been doing the colonial era in the book Our Nation's Archives, A History of the United States and Documents by Eric Braun and Jay Crosby. It's really one of the last documents before we get to the what's called the New Nation or post 1789. The other thing we're going to do is we're drinking a beer called Birdie by Twin Oast. And you can see it right there, Birdie by Twin Oast. It's a lager. It's pretty good. So we'll get to that in a minute. But the first thing we're going to do is we are going to read, and then we're going to do the history of Santa Claus and 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. And hopefully that will get us through our 40 minutes together. So let's have some fun. Again, this is the book we're using. Our Nation's Archives, the History of the United States Documents by Eric Braun and Jay Crosby. And so I'm going to read from that. Then we'll talk a little bit about the history of Twin Oast, and then we'll do the other couple things. All right, so here's the first thing from Patrick Henry. I really don't think you want to look at my ugly mug the whole time, so we'll put this as back up. All right, again, here we go. The legendary revolutionary Patrick Henry was once the staunchest opponent of the Constitution, which he feared would squash individual liberties. I don't want it to be that big. Saying that he represented the voice of the people, he described his misgivings at the outset of the Virginia Constitutional Convention. Despite Henry's objections, which were widespread, Virginia ratified the Constitution on June 25th, 1788. All right, so here's the letter. Mr. Chairman, the public mind, as well as my own, is extremely uneasy as to the proposed change of government. Give me leave to form one of the numbers of those who wish to be thoroughly acquainted with the reasons of this perilous, uneasy situation, and why we are brought hither to decide on this great national question. I consider myself as a servant of the people of this Commonwealth and as a sentinel over their rights, liberties, and happiness. I represent their feelings when I say that they are exceedingly uneasy, being brought from the state of full security which they enjoyed to the present delusive appearance of things. A year ago, the minds of our citizens were at perfect repose. Before the meeting of the late Federal Convention at Philadelphia, a general peace and a universal tranquility prevailed in this country. but since that period, they are exceedingly uneasy and disquieted. When I wished for an appointment to this convention, my mind was extremely agitated for the situation of public affairs. I conceive the Republic to be in extreme danger. If our situation be thus uneasy, whence has arisen this fearful jeopardy? It arises from this fateful system. It arises from a proposal to change our government, a proposal that goes to the utter annihilation of the most solemn engagement of the states, a proposal of establishing 9 states into a confederacy to the eventual exclusion of 4. It goes to the annihilation of those solemn treaties we have formed with foreign nations. The present circumstances of France, the good offices rendered us by that kingdom require that our most faithful and most punctual adherence to our treaty with her. We are in alliance with the Spaniards, the Dutch, and the Prussians. Those treaties bound us as 13 states confederated together. Yet here is a proposal to sever that confederacy. It is possible that we shall abandon all our treaties and national engagements? And for what? I expected to have heard the reason of an event so unexpected to my mind and many others. Was our civil polity or public justice endangered or sapped? Was the real existence of the country threatened, or was this preceded by mournful progression of events? This proposal of altering our federal government is of a most alarming nature. Make the best of this new government. Say it is composed by anything but inspiration. You ought to be extremely cautious, watchful, and jealous of your liberty, for instead of securing your rights, you may lose them forever. If a wrong step now be made, the republic may be lost forever. If this new government will not come up to the expectations of the people, and they should be disappointed, their liberty will be lost, and tyranny must and will arise. I repeat it again, and I beg gentlemen to consider that a wrong step made now will plunge us into misery, and our republic will be lost. It will be necessary for the convention to have faithfully historical details of the fact that preceded the session of the Federal Convention and the reasons that actuated its members into proposing an entire alteration of government, and to demonstrate the dangers that awaited us. If they were of such awful magnitude as to warrant a proposal so extremely perilous as this, I must assert that this convention has an absolute right to a thorough discovery of every circumstance relative to this great event. And here I would make this inquiry of those worthy characters who composed a part of the late Federal Convention. I am sure they were fully impressed with the necessity of forming a great consolidated government instead of a confederation. That is, a consolidated government is demonstrably clear, and the danger of such a government is, to my mind, very striking. I have the highest veneration for these gentlemen, but, sir, give me leave to demand what right had they to say, we, the people, my political curiosity, exclusive of my anxious solicitude for the public welfare, lead me to ask who authorized them to speak the language of we, the people, instead of we, the states. States are the characteristics and the soul of the Confederation. If a state be not an agent of this compact, it must be a great consolidated national government of the people of all the states. I have the highest respect for those gentlemen who formed this convention, and were some of them not here, I would express the same testimonial of my esteem for them. America had, on a former occasion, put the utmost confidence in them, a confidence which was well placed. And I am sure, sir, that I would give up anything to them. I would cheerfully confide in them as my representatives. But, sir, on this great occasion, I would demand the cause of their conduct, even that from the illustrious man who saved us by his valor. I would have a reason for his conduct, that liberty which he has given to us by his valor. Tell me to ask this reason, and sure I am, were he here, he would give us that reason. But there are other gentlemen here who can give us this information. The people gave them no power to use their name. That they exceeded their power is perfectly clear. It is not mere curiosity that actuates me. I wish to hear the real, actual existing danger which should lead us to take these actual dangerous and, in my conception, steps. Disorders have arisen in other parts of America, but here, sir, no danger, no insurrection or tumult has happened. Everything has been calm and tranquil. But notwithstanding this, we are wandering into a great ocean of human affairs. I see no landmark to guide us. We are running, we know not whither. Difference in opinion has gone to a degree of inflammatory resentment in different parts of the country, which has been occasioned by the perilous innovation. The Federal Convention ought to have amended the old system. For this purpose, they were solely delegated. The object of their mission extended to no other consideration. You must therefore forgive the solicitation of one unworthy member to know what danger could have arisen under the present confederation and what are the causes of this proposal to change our governments. That was Patrick Henry. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I believe that I believe that if you were writing a thesis today, if you were a PhD in American history, I would, my thesis would be the Anti-Federalists, which you could use that letter as an Anti-Federalist, were right, but they were 250 years early. So anyway, we are drinking Birdie. It is a classic gold American lager by Twin Oast Brewing. So let's talk a little bit about Twin Oast Brewing. So let's go to share screen. What happened to Twin Oaks Brewing? I'll have to look it up again. Hate it when it does this. Oh, here we go. Maybe. All right, so here's Twin Oaks Brewing. This is their website, twinos.com. Here's what it says. At Twin Oaks, we believe life's best experiences should be savored. Our beer is crafted with creativity and purpose, not mass production. Each batch reflects our farm to fermenter philosophy, drawing inspiration from the land, the seasons, and the people who gather here. More than a brewery, Twin Oaks is an experience nestled on a 60-acre estate in Catawba Island. Our space is a mix of natural beauty and architectural inspiration. Some stone fruit orchards, forested trails, and rolling fields set the stage for memorable moments. It's a very good lager, by the way. Whether you're here for a weekend escape, a seasonal festival, or just to sip something new, you're part of the story we're brewing. So again, 60 acres, 2,000 barrels brewed this year. They've been around for 7 years. An oast is a traditional structure once used to dry hops, a crucial step in historic brewing. Found throughout old hop-growing regions, these buildings feature perforated drying floors, vented cowls that turn the wind, and warm rustic charm. Oast represents a perfect blend of farming and brewing, a relationship at the heart of what we do. Our beer echoes the kind of craftsmanship once shared by hop growers and brewers. This kind of beer enjoyed by those working in and around these storied houses. Our own brewery was designed with those roots in mind. Stonework, woodwork, and timeless design come together to create a space that honors tradition while welcoming the modern drinker. Okay, so let's go back up to them. Let's look at their beer. Okay, here's their beers. Old Ohio, a blonde ale I've had. It's pretty good. Osterweissen, I haven't had that yet. Hefeweizen. Legitimate Swells, an American IPA. I have had that. I'm not a huge IPA fan, but it's pretty good. Shipburner, I love. The porter favors the bold. Those with it's a brown porter with audacity, and it is very good. and they have some seasonal offerings. Um, let's see. Here's their calendar. Let's take a look at that real quick. Here's what's on tap if you went there today. Let's see. Legitimate ship burner. Abbey Bock, a Doppelbock. That's really good. I've had that. I think I have that in the basement, actually. I bought some of that. Anniversary Ale, which is a Midwest Dippa. Cran Jam, Jam Pack Shandy. My wife had that. She thought it was really good. Non-denominational holiday ale. Lots of people while we were there were ordering that. Peach Vivid, a fruited ale. Star Crush, a hazy IPA. Too Legit, a Dippa. Cinnamon Oast Crunch, bourbon, and that was very popular too. Bourbon Barrel Age. I had that. It was very good. Hot Blonde and Squeeze Louise. So that's what they're offering now. If you would go and buy that. Let's restart the music here. Again, the music's provided by Soundstripe. I use the blue genre, and so that's what we're doing. All right, so again, we are drinking the Birdie. I bought a can of that. It's not on tap right now. Again, classic golden American lager. Uh, doesn't really think it does say what glass you should pour it in, which is in a Pilsner glass. Again, it is very good. All right. So the next thing we were going to do, that's the end of Twinnos. We can get rid of that, is talk about the real origins of Santa Claus. Since this is my 50th anniversary, 50th show, and it's Christmas time, we're going to use history.com's articles about Santa Claus. So here we go. Santa Claus, otherwise known as St. Nicholas or Kris Kringle, had a long history steeped in Christmas traditions. Today, he is thought of mainly as a jolly man in red who brings toys to good girls and boys on Christmas Eve nights. But his story stretches all the way back to the 3rd century when the real St. Nicholas walked the earth and became the patron saint of children. Find out more about the history of Santa Claus from his earliest origins to the shopping mall Santas of today, and discover how two New Yorkers, Clement Clark Moore and Thomas Nast, were major influences on Santa Claus millions of children wait for each Christmas. The legend of Santa Claus can be traced back hundreds of years to a monk named St. Nicholas. It is believed Nicholas was born sometimes around AD 280 in Patara near Myra in modern-day Turkey. Much admired for his piety and kindness, St. Nicholas became the subject of many legends. It is said that he gave away all of his inherited wealth and traveled the countryside helping the poor and sick. One of the best-known St. Nicholas stories is the time he saved 3 poor sisters from being sold into slavery or prostitution by their father by providing them with a dowry so they could marry. Over the course of many years, Nicholas's popularity spread and he became known as a protector of children and sailors. His feast day is celebrated on the anniversary of his death, December 6th. This was traditionally considered a lucky day to make large purchases or to get married. By the Renaissance, St. Nicholas was the most popular saint in Europe, even after the Protestant Reformation, when the veneration of saints began to be discouraged. St. Nicholas maintained a positive reputation, especially in Holland. There's St. Nicholas. St. Nicholas made his first inroads into American popular culture toward the end of the 18th century. In December 1773 and again in 1774, a New York newspaper reported that groups of Dutch families had gathered onto the anniversary of his death. The name Santa Claus evolved from Nick's Dutch name Sinterklaas, a shortened form of Sint Nicolaas, Dutch for St. Nicholas. In 1804, New York Historical Society member John Pintard distributed woodcuts of St. Nicholas at a society's annual meeting. The background of the engraving contained now familiar Santa images, including stockings filled with toys and fruit hung over a fireplace. In 1809, Washington Irving helped popularize the Santa Claus stories when he referred to St. Nicholas as the patron saint of New York in his book, The History of New York. As prominence grew, Santa Claus was described as everything from a rascal with a blue three-cornered hat, a red waistcoat, and yellow stockings to a man wearing a broad-brimmed hat and a huge pair of Flemish trunk hose. Gift giving, mainly centered around children, has been an important part of the Christmas celebration since the holiday's rejuvenation in the early 19th century. Stores began to advertise Christmas shopping in 1820, and by 1840, newspapers were creating separate sections for holiday advertisements that often features images of the newly popular Santa Claus. In 1841, thousands of children visited a Philadelphia shop to see a life-sized Santa Claus model. It was only a matter of time before stores began to attract children and their parents with the lure of a peek at a live Santa Claus. In the early 1890s, the Salvation Army needed money to pay for free Christmas meals they provided to needy families. They began dressing up unemployed men in Santa Claus suits and sending them into the streets of New York to solicit donations. Those familiar Salvation Army Santas and other volunteers have been ringing bells on the street corners of American cities ever since. Perhaps the most iconic department store Santa is Kris Kringle from the 1947 Santa Claus movie, Miracle on 34th Street. A young Natalie Wood played a little girl who believed Kris Kringle when he said that he was the real Santa Claus. Edmund Gwenn won an Oscar for originating the role of Kris Kringle. The 1994 remake of the movie starred Richard Attenborough and Mara Wilson. The Macy's Santa has appeared at almost every Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade since 1924. Fans of all ages still line up to meet the Macy's Santa in New York City and at stores around the country where children can take pictures on Santa's lap and tell him what they want for Christmas. In 1822, an Episcopal minister named Clement Clark Moore wrote a long Christmas poem for his three daughters entitled A Visit from St. Nicholas, more popularly known as "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." We're going to do that here in a minute. Moore's poem, which he was initially hesitant to publish due to the frivolous nature of its subject, is largely responsible for our modern image of Santa Claus as a right jolly old elf with a portly figure and a supernatural ability to ascend a chimney with a mere nod of his head. Although some of Moore's imagery was probably borrowed from other sources, his poem helped popularize the now familiar image of a Santa Claus who flew from house to house on Christmas Eve in a miniature sleigh. Led by 8 flying reindeer to leave presents for deserving children, A Visit from St. Nicholas created a new and immediately popular American icon. In 1881, political cartoonist Thomas Nast drew on Moore's poem to create the first likeness that matched our modern image of Santa Claus. His cartoon, which appeared in Harper's Weekly, depicted Santa as a rotund, cheerful man with a full white beard holding a sack laden with toys for lucky children. It was Nast who gave Santa's bright red suit, trimmed with white fur, North Pole Workshop's Elves and his wife, Mrs. Claus. America's Santa Claus is not the only St. Nicholas-inspired gift giver to make an appearance on Christmas time. There are similar figures in Christmas traditions around the world. Christkind, or Kris Kringle, was believed to deliver presents to well-behaved Swifts and German children, meaning Christ child. Christkind is an angel-like figure often accompanied by St. Nicholas on his holiday missions. In Scandinavia, a jolly elf named Jolteman, something like that, was thought to deliver gifts from the sleigh drawn by goats. English legend explains that Father Christmas visited each home on Christmas Eve to fill children's stockings with holiday treats. Père Noël is responsible for filling the shoes of French children. In Italy, there's a story of a woman called La Befana, a kindly witch who rides a broomstick down the chimneys of Italian homes to deliver toys into the stockings of lucky children. In the United States, Santa is often depicted as flying from his home to home on Christmas Eve to deliver toys to children. Flies on his magic sleigh led by his reindeer. Santa enters each home through the chimney, which is why empty Christmas stockings, once empty socks, now often dedicated stockings to made for the occasion, are hung by the chimney with care as Clement Morse had said. All right, so we're not going to go into all the detail, but that is the history of Santa Claus. Again, we are drinking Twin Oast Birdie. It's an American lager. It's very good. We read, what was it called again? A Wrong Step Now and the Republic Will Be Lost Forever by Patrick Henry, as we pretty much wind up the colonial period from our book, The Nation's Archives, A History of the United States in Documents. We have learned about the history of Santa Claus. Before I read the Night Before Christmas, I want to thank everybody, the hundreds of you, because that's about all there is, for listening to my little labor of love podcast. Again, it's available on iHeart, Spreaker, and Spotify and Podcast Addict, as well as a direct link on Facebook, on the Facebook page, the Documents and Drafts, and on Twitter on Docs and Drafts. So we have one more thing to do. We are going to read "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," which I have started doing. This is, I think, the third time we've done this, maybe. All right, so here we go. This was, again, by Clement Clark Moore. "'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief and my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to the objects below. When, what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet and Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. On top of the porch, on top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then in the twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, and his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke had encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump and a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work and filled all the stockings and turned with a jerk. And laying his fingers side of his nose and giving a nod up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him as exclaim his error as he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." Because that was the night before Christmas. So I hope everybody has enjoyed today. Let's get back to my, no, I lost it, so forget that. This version of Documents and Drafts, once again, we used Our Nation's Archives, edited by Jay Crosby and Eric Brunn. We read a piece from Patrick Henry that didn't like the new Constitution. We did the history of Santa Claus. We read Twas the Night Before Christmas. We drank some Twin Oast Brewing. And next time we'll get back into it. We're going to get into more of the what do they call it? What's the next period? It's called the New Nation. So we'll get into some of those documents. We'll drink some other cool beers, and we'll do some other fun stuff on the way. So everybody has a great holiday season, whatever holiday you happen to celebrate. Enjoy.